Something that Samuels keeps bringing up: sign language. What was it? The last SIGN. The G is the guilt. N is need to be right. I forget the other two. I'm sure you all will remind me in the chat. But the need to be right. That comes out of the effeminate mind, and fundamentally it's juvenile, it's childish, it's effeminate. Those things are linked together. The mind of somebody who they don't have the physical power that grown men do, so they have to sort of do this weird childish thing of not really arguing correctly, being disingenuous. I like how Kevin Samuels has really shown that one of the hardest parts about this is, so the need to be right really comes from the inability to admit when you've just gotten just some real basic fundamental information wrong. It's normal, intelligent, literate, first world to admit that when you're incorrect. And it was Molyneux who made me really see when people are trying to mess around with, and they got a need to be right. Because Molyneux is the one who made me understand the point of it really is to have somebody agree with your delusion that you're correct. And it's usually based out of, I can't see you. I don't know if you're turning. I don't know what you're doing. People in Oregon are like, they'll stop at a crosswalk. There's nobody there. You can't see the driver. They're in the farthest possible lane. You have no idea why they're doing it. They could just keep driving. It would take them a second. And you're like, and it's just, yeah. But the need to be right, that a lot of this comes from the need for somebody to confirm delusions. And it's confirming delusions. It's even beyond the idea of the true believer. It's far beyond it because it's lesser. It's lower than the idea of the true believer, where the true believer actually has to go through a really complex, multi kind of stage thing of sort of being brainwashed and helping brainwash themselves, where the need to be right really comes out of being petulant, juvenile, and effeminate. And it really is something that you see, and you see men do this. You see liberal men do it. Bernie Titty Bros, the Bernie Booby Bear kind of people. Socialist men are always like this. They're always arguing some emotional point rather than real good, solid, factual information. That's why they'll never know economic terms for things. They can't really stand the idea that maybe nobody finds them worth anything, and that's why, and that's the hard part, is the Molyneux made it as, it's why discuss it if what you're looking for isn't the truth? Why participate if the whole point is to just go around in circles lying to each other? It's not philosophy if what you're looking for is to just lie to one another and confirm each other's delusions, rather than come to a point where you can understand what is true from what is false, and the search for truth. And that's something that the left of center has to have given up on because of their embrace of Marxism, and the fact that within Marxism the truth is always subjective, so there is no truth. Even if two people decide on the same delusion, the moment their delusional minds venture in two different directions, then their agreement is over. And this is always why the Marxists end up fighting each other and killing each other, is because they at some point are just a bunch of people sort of the same cult-like mentality, confirming each other's delusions until, they no longer agree on the rules to their game of pretense, the childish game of pretense. It's like what children do. Yeah, so I just thought it was just something that was hitting me. The need to be right is also one of these things that is going to be interesting because of the fact that it's so much a liberal fail state kind of thing, but it's so normal for women. It's been now this thing that, and that to the point that now you can't cite data. You can't cite data because data is hate speech. Because when data doesn't make women happy and it makes them have the sads, then it's hate speech. It just doesn't matter. It is instantaneously hateful because it made a woman not feel good, and confirm her biases, confirm her bigotries, usually which are liberal and contemptuous of men, based around the gamelessness that they tend to have when they can't, well, yeah, because women who can't deal with the truth are also kind of gameless. They're weird in a way because they live in a fake world. And at some point when you're talking to them, you're like, holy shit, this bitch is so fucking basic. She's delusional and basic. It's like, wow, you're unattractive because you're delusional and basic. And the two are tied together. Because when you're basic as fuck, it means you do have this sort of area of knowledge that is trite, normal, but like it really average at best. Let's try to do that for a second. No, that's of course not going to work. It's not no. And so it was one of these things that the need to be right is something also a lot of men have encountered, and that they're trying to deal with, like a real need for something to change in a relationship, and the woman is constantly just trying to fundamentally bully you by this need to be right thing that she has to be right. And so one of the beautiful things I just want to that was hitting me was, by the end of it, the need to be right is going to be this notorious and really at some point there's going to be somebody like a Rollo Tomasi or somebody who understands enough about psychology and women and the red pilled world. They're going to really break this down in a way. I think Kevin Samuels really, I think this is a whole episode. I bet he's already done one, really, and I missed it. That, like, what is the need to be right psychologically? I think he knows. I think he knows. Because of, he has interactions with therapists and psychotherapists and stuff, that he actually understands. Like, no, this is actually a thing from philosophy and from even from Christianity and theology. The demand that people just simply agree and say that you're right, and even though you're not, that you're actually not factually correct, that and this is even in the realm of, like, sometimes theory, especially like women will do this like a lot, where they'll just keep bringing things out into further and further theory. Well, if men were in a country that and you're like, so now we're talking about a pretend world, and which is typical of modern women because of how feminism is this delusional offshoot of Marxism. So you have to believe in a pretend world rather than the real world, where market economics and remuneration are a real thing. Instead, it's based on the way that Marxists are really rooted in Hegelianism, and so they're always in this pretend world. There's this fantasy world that all these people who work for money won't allow to come to fruition and to manifest, as I like that to use such a term. Whew. Not feeling like I'm doing too bad for almost 50. So, the need to be right at some point, I think, is in the not so far future, will be something that people will actually say, like, oh my gosh, so need to be right, that will be some term. Oh, this poor thing, she just has to be right all the time. She's going to end up losing her husband, and that's going to become a normal concept. Yeah, well, she kept trying to always be correct all the time, always fucking picking at nits, and finally it never, that was it, yeah, so it's, yeah, so I don't know. I just, I gotta roll this around a bit more. This is gonna hit, yeah. Interesting. Oh, Fander Films. Okay. What? Oh, okay. Oh boy, that last one I did, people are commenting on it. I'm liking this. Yeah. Dude, you guys rock. You guys rock. And Merry Christmas, man. So I actually did decide on what I'm going to do on the Christmas, for my little Christmas video. It's going to be a little surprise. Tomorrow I'm going to be working, but there's going to be the 25th and the 26th. I got a little something planned, something nice for one of the days. The other day I've got to do the laundry and be all adult and blah blah blah. Go back to work. Nah. There's only 24 hours in a day and only 18 where a man can play. God, the Beastie Boys were geniuses. All right. Later, y'all. Merry Christmas.